Hello and welcome to EVs Beyond. I'm Rich Edwards and today we are looking at a car that is just a little bit smaller than what we usually drive. It's this, the Mitsubishi EKX. It's what the Japanese would call a K car, and this one is all electric. So it's, not just efficient from being electric, but also efficient from being small. And really efficient in so many ways, because while this looks tiny, this thing has an awful lot of space. In fact, it can take 4 adults really comfortably, probably not with a huge amount of luggage, but enough. And Mitsubishi Motors New Zealand, we're outside their office now, are actually considering this for the New Zealand market. They took it to field days. They've developed a panel of people that they're running through as potential buyers for this car. Who are those potential buyers? They've said it's a fairly broad mix. It could be fleets, it could be older buyers, it could be actually a lot of younger customers looking for something just for the daily run, dropping the kids to school, going to work, or those little things where you just need transport and not necessarily a bigger vehicle. So let's kind of run through the basics. It's got a 20 kilowatt hour battery. It is front wheel drive. I think it's got about a 47 kilowatt hour motor in the front. Range WLTC, so not WLTP, this is the Japanese standard of 180 kilometers. Real world, 130 to 150. And I guess the all-important thing is, what's the price going to be? Now, they aren't telling us yet. I've been told it will not be under $30,000, but it might be under $40,000. So it could be an interesting little option out there in the market if it comes to New Zealand. And I say if because technically this is still for evaluation, but I've just sat down with the management here at Mitsubishi New Zealand, and they're talking fairly like it is down the track to potentially come here. So let's have a little bit of a look around, and then we'll go for a really short drive and see what we think of the Mitsubishi EKX. So at the front we have this very bluff Mitsubishi family nose. I know there's a few comments online recently about it being a little bit interesting looking, but that is kind of the Mitsubishi look. It's the same as the Outlander and Eclipse and a few other items down here. Now we've got this panel here, that is for the driver assistance. This does actually have things like lane keep, and there is the option for adaptive cruise and other more established driver assistance technology. Whether that comes to New Zealand in the end, we do not know. It does have autonomous emergency braking, which is kind of, I think, the baseline now. Now if we walk around the sides here, it's got these rather small looking little wheels in the context of the car. But they're not actually particularly small. They are 16-inch wheels. It's just that the car is very boxy and tall, that they look quite small. I'll put the dimensions on this car on the screen, but while it looks small, it's not really in the key metrics as small as you think. It's got an over 2.5 meter wheelbase, which is quite substantial. Now, if we come around, very bluff short sides, and I'll cross in front of the camera here and go to the back. Again, absolutely dead flat rear. The key with the K cars is they've got to fit a footprint on the road, so they do not waste any vertical space. There's no swoopy angles on these cars. They are boxes for maximum volume, and I think that is pretty darn cool. Now, if we open up the boot here, and my cameraman will come in, the boot itself is not massive, enough for a couple of carry-on suitcases out there, and you've got some storage under here for, this is a parcel shelf, but also you've got a tyre kit and a 8 amp charger. They're saying about 11 hours of charge on that. And then you have CHAdeMO DC charging. It's not particularly fast. We're hearing about 35, 36 kilowatt hours. But don't forget, it's a 20 kilowatt hour battery. So at 20 kilowatts, at 35 odd kilowatts of charging, you're going to be done real quick anyway in daily use. The charging port itself is at the rear. It's around here. Now this one being an evaluation model, that is Type 1 and CHAdeMO. The New Zealand spec cars, if it makes it here, will still be CHAdeMO, but it will be a Type 1 charging plug. So that's the exterior of the Mitsubishi. I think it's pretty funky. Let's have a little bit of a look inside the car. To show you how spacious this car is, I'm going to open the doors on this side, but then go over the other side. So open these up. It's got touchless unlocking there on both sides. Nice wide opening doors, really easy to get in and out of. Now if I come around the other side, and bear in mind, you guys know me, I'm very clear, I'm a big guy, over 6 foot, easily in and out of into the driver's seat. Super comfy access, nice high setting position, really easy to get out of. Straight in. Now the seat sits rearmost position, but I am perfectly comfortable. My knee is almost rubbing against the center console, but not too bad, but really good. The steering wheel is just angle, no reach. Now if I jump into the back seat, exactly the same thing. This thing is so spacious in the back seat. I am actually reclining and stretching my legs out. I can't do that in a Prius for an Uber. This is just unreal. In fact, the possibility of this thing doing a little bit of Uber work could be interesting. And you've got some nice touches. We'll stay here in the back seat for a second. You've got bottle holders in the door, really easy to reach. You've got, this is a split seat there's only 2 seats in the back, as you'd expect, but you do have ISOFIX tethers here for 2 car seats and the tethers in the back of the seat for that. You have headrests, a nice little light here. I could be wearing a huge hat. It's just so spacious, super impressive. I'm gonna head back to the front seat. So in the front, you've got most of what you'd expect in a car of this type. You've got a big infotainment system here. Now this one, Mitsubishi, doesn't really work at the moment. This is one that's been added on in New Zealand because this is an evaluation car. It came in without one. You've got climate control, single mode down here, heated seats, heated steering wheel. The materials are of a reasonable quality, but they are a bit fat, plasticky and firm, and you're very aware that the doors are quite thin, but electric windows front and rear. You've got buttons down here for things like your charge timers and that kind of stuff. So it has got a charge timer, which is handy. Again, bottle and cup holders up in the dashboard, nice and easy to reach. I do like that, very impressed with that. And you have controls here for the stereo. You would have controls for the cruise control if it was optioned on this car. This one isn't. And the dash is just a simple single LCD screen. Lots more pockets under here, USBs and all that kind of thing. And then you've got this interesting pocket which we'll show in a second in the door. You can open this up, and great place to keep probably manuals and stuff that you don't necessarily grab so often. Over here you've got a pull-out drawer, handy for easy access things, a glove box, and then you've got this tray up here, and I've found that little tray there is really good for a cell phone. There's a little divider there that'll stop your cell phone sliding around. Another nice little touch is that the seat belts are height adjustable. Yet again, not something necessarily you'd think you'd see on a really budget small car. Safety-wise, as we mentioned, it's got those active driver features, and then in here we have front airbags, side airbags. So yeah, we don't know what the final safety spec would be for New Zealand, but it's a small car, but they do feel like they have paid some attention to making sure that there are modern safety features in the EKX. Yeah, really happy place to be. I love the little steering wheel, feels really good. But let's go and give it a test and take this for a drive. So how does the little Mitsubishi EKX drive? So start button up here, transmission, fairly standard transmission shifter here. You've got a drive and then like a regen mode. There we go, automatic handbrake. And let's head out of here. Now one thing I noticed straight off is it isn't a particularly quiet car. You hear it on the road. It does feel a little bit thin. But I guess that's to be expected, and it's not like you're going to do really big road trips in this where that noise would become droning and a bit annoying. Pickup is surprisingly good. Now the power at under 50 kilowatts is pretty minimal, I guess you might think, but this thing weighs well under a ton, so it's actually surprisingly sprightly. And once we get over this crossing here, if I go and put my foot down, that gets away really well. That's super cool. The brakes, nice feel to them, really nice. But the thing I've already done a little bit of a lap around this area of them, is the steering just feels great. Now, do I feel safe in this car? I guess yes. I mean, you are very aware of how thin the doors are and how close you are to the outside world and how little there is in front of you. You really can't see the bonnet out in front of you, and so it does kind of just look like the front of the car is just there. But would I want to do a big open road, high-speed trip in it? No. Do I feel fine going around town? Absolutely. It is comfortable enough for that, and I do think I feel safe enough for that. So yeah, now let's see how this steering goes. Oh, look, it's just effortless. Now, let's perhaps go out onto the highway at 100 and see what it does. Right, so we're pulling onto the motorway here. Feels fine so far. Okay, let's take it up to 100 kilometers an hour for highway speed. It's fine. We're doing about 95 now. Feels like it's got plenty in reserve. It's riding fine. It's not bouncing or chopping on the motorway. There is quite a bit of wind noise, but to be honest, I feel really comfortable in this car on the motorway. No issue at all. Now, energy information wise, it gives us some interesting information. It uses the kilometers per kilowatt hour measure. So at 5.2 kilometers per kilowatt hour, I'm going to put on the bottom what that means in terms of the kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I'm not going to do the maths in my head quickly, but yeah, seems fine enough so far. I'm super impressed, and I think if a lot of people can get over the concept of the size, I think they will be incredibly happy with their purchase. Right, so the Mitsubishi EKX EV, what do we think? Well, I'm really surprised. This car is more spacious than I thought. I knew it was going to be spacious, but it's even more spacious than that. And it's actually really mature to drive. It feels good on the city streets. It actually felt really good, brisk, fun, stable on the motorway. Super impressed. So hopefully Mitsubishi New Zealand gets this into the country. And I think some people who perhaps think it might be a little bit small, a little bit of a toy, hopefully they'll reconsider. I'm sure there's small car lovers out there that'll be rushing for this car regardless. But I really do see this as a competitor to Gen 1 Leafs in that kind of $25,000 space, potentially, maybe even against the 40 kilowatt Leaf, those city cars. So yeah, hopefully it comes here soon. Don't forget, like, subscribe, go to evsandbeyond.co.nz for more, and hopefully we'll see you with more great EVs soon.